boxing me. Get over up here, Georgia girl. Come on, girl. Come on. You know, after the last few weeks on Georgia girl here, she's been working hard on her agenda. And she was about ready for it, but then she told me, she goes, Papacito, back in the 60s, I went to Harvard University, and I had a professor that she called him a visionary, a man ahead of his time. And Georgia said she learned about PowerPoint slides. So, Georgia was working on the PowerPoint slides, and we were going to show them to you on our teleprompter, but Bubba, old Bubba Bassett Hound right here, he said it was an accident. Now, America, let me sit here and tell you something. I know that puppies have accidents inside the house. Old dogs have accidents inside the house. Kind of like an old Snoop dog. You know, they go out snooping at night. Then they come home, belly's full, lay down, go to sleep, and then they say, oh, I gotta go outside and take care of some business. But they don't make it. They have an accident inside the house. So I'm sure you know what I mean. So we had to punish old Bubba Bassett Hound for what he did to our teleprompter. Matter of fact, America, we got a picture for you. Hold on a second here. Excuse me, George. We like to punish old school, kind of like Old Testament, but it's old. So we put old Bubba Bassett Hound in the stocks. And we actually happen to have a few eyewitnesses. As you can see, we got old Luna Husky over here. And then down here, Bubba, I love you too, buddy. That's Chiquita Chihuahua. And then we have Georgia B Hound. And then up here we have Barry Bernard. They were all witnesses to Bubba Bassett Hound being put in the stocks. Like I told you, we go old punishment. And so, but while Bubba was in the stocks, he came up with a brilliant idea. He said, Papacito, we don't need to use PowerPoint. You got to have a good visual aid. So old Bubba said, we need to show you Georgia's agenda using hamburgers. Now, America, I know it. You're probably thinking, what is Georgia's agenda? And the biggest issue facing America today, and it's the only thing that Georgia's going to focus on, is our national debt. We owe so much money, we can probably never get out of debt unless we have a candidate like Georgia B. Hound who will get this country out of debt. Because we know after she's elected the first time, she will be re-elected. So, what we're going to have to do, America, I'm going to have to excuse these dogs. Because we know that burgers and dogs do not go together. Because them dogs just eat them old burgers up. And so, I'm going to have to excuse these pups while I give you the rest of our presentation. I got the pups out of here so that we can continue on with Georgia's agenda, what her platform is going to be. As I stated earlier, our nation's debt is our #1 problem that we have. And so Georgia Girl wanted me to explain to you and give you a little history, background on our nation's debt. So, anyways, using my 1x2 as a pointer, the last time the United States of America was out of debt was 1835. Been a couple of days. President Andrew Jackson was the president at that time. Matter of fact, I gathered that information from Politico.com. In America, let me see them tell you something. Georgia, or excuse me, Luna Husky, she's got the inside scoop in D.C. She's telling me that old President Trump uses Politico.com for all his inside information. Quotes them all the time, that's what I've heard. So anyways, back to business here. We hit $1 trillion in debt in 1981, right here, $1 trillion. President Ronald Reagan was in office at the time. So what we got to do, and I told you, old Bubba messed up and ruined the teleprompter. We're using burgers for debt. So we put one burger for $1 trillion in debt. So the latest information we have on the rest of our chart here, as you can tell, this is an early 1980s Excel spreadsheet here, was when President William Jefferson Clinton took over. Old Bill, Wild Bill, some people call him. He took office in 20 January of 1995, and there was $4.8 trillion in debt. So between 1981 and 95, I mean, we got about 13, 14 years there. You know, we went up $3 trillion in debt. But, so, we got a burger here. $1 trillion. Now, we got to add this, well, we're just going to make it 5 burgers. So, during Clinton's presidency, we went 5 burgers. Well, I tell you what, them damn burgers there are just not cooperating very well. And this is kind of like a big one, so we'll just make that like 3. And that one will stay in place right there. That's 4. That's like 2 stuck together, but we're just going to make it 5. It doesn't matter. Oh, debt's falling all over the place there. So, anyways, old Wild Bill, he took over 20 January 1995. He's in presidency for 8 years. But I will give President Clinton some kudos because he only went $900 billion in debt in 8 years. Pretty good job considering the rest of the history of debt. So, 19 January 2001 is the latest data that we have the U.S. Treasury Department. And if you actually ever want to find out all this data, just do a search engine. I'm not going to tell you to do which one. You can just search for pennies to the debt or go to ustreasury.gov, I believe it is, and you can see this all for yourself. So, 20 January 2001, President George Bush took over, and there was $5.7 trillion in debt. Now, we all know that President George Bush was the president for 8 years. But if you look at that date, you know, 9 months and whatever, we had 9/11. And that changed everything in our country. Trust me, I know that. So, but in the 8 years that President Bush was in office, we went $4.9 trillion in debt. So, we got to grab us 5 burgers. Alright. There's like 2 right there. Damn, goodness gracious. These things are like hockey pucks. Oh! That looks like a Bubba burger is what that one does. It's like all burnt and rough around the edges. Alright, so there's 4. There's 5. But we gotta add, we're close to 6, right? We just gotta like stockpile these burgers. since Bubba had an accident with the old teleprompter, as I told you earlier. Alright, so 20 January 2009, President Barack Obama took over. And there was 10.6 trillion debt at that time. So, kind of looking at it between Bush and Obama, went up 4.9. So we got to add like 11 burgers. Well, God willing, we got 11 burgers. It's sitting here. There's 2. There's a 3. There's a 4. There's a 5 burger. A 6 burger. A 7 burger. That's kind of like an 8-9 burger. There's a 10 burger. And since we're rounding up, there's an 11 burger. So, the burgers just keep piling up. Alright. So, President Barack Obama, in his 8 years of office, increased our debt from 10.6 to 19.9. That is $9.3 trillion in debt in 8 years. That's over $1 trillion in debt per year. Now, America, our debt's getting a little heavy, getting kind of big, so I got to change pointers. I got to bring in the 2x4. Since our debt's getting too big, I mean, it's kind of like the difference between building a guard shack and Taj Mahal or something. You know, I don't know. So, we got to put 20 burgers down here 20 January 27 because that's actually the date that our current president, Donald Trump, took over. So, I don't think I have 20 burgers left in here, but I'm just going to kind of stockpile a bunch of burgers. Hold on a second, America. Well, our cast iron skillet's out of burgers. Let's sit down right there. So, anyways, like I told you, $19.9 trillion of debt when President Trump took over. Now, as of 21 November 2018, President Trump has incurred taken on almost $2 trillion in debt. So if you really kind of look at this, America, we went a long, long time before we hit the 1 trillion. Like 135 years or something like that. But then we went 3.8 in 14 years. Yep, 14 years, 3.8. And then President Clinton comes along, actually did a very good job, as I said, 0.9 trillion. President Bush took on $4.9 trillion in debt. But then, the good Lord only knows why, President Obama made us go $9.3 trillion in debt in 8 years. But here's what I'm trying to say, America.